Obviously, Lexie's been tremendous, especially on the defensive end. Like, she just brings a spark and a tenacity about her that, you know, maybe we weren't always getting on the defensive end, and she's just willing to do whatever it takes for this team.
Whispers and hush talks between scouts and executives over a lengthy July road trip were the beginning of it all. The league started to hear Lexie Hull's name. She was unharmed. She wasn't benched for misbehaving. She was simply available. That's what other teams thought, anyway. According to reports, Indiana wanted to increase their perimeter scoring. Despite having a strong defense, Hull had trouble being consistent from deep. The Fever therefore paid attention when a Western Conference team, possibly Phoenix or Dallas, according to some insiders, called. It was characterized as a straightforward depth-for-depth transaction. Just business, nothing significant. However, suddenly, it stopped. Phones went silent. No callbacks, no press leaks, and no follow-ups. Overnight, the entire thing was buried. It didn't seem like much to the majority of supporters. However, it presented a very important question for people within the organization. The deal was killed by whom? At that moment, Caitlin Clark's management team came under fire. Let's go back to the beginning of it all. The Fever were in survival mode by the middle of the season, managing injuries, experimenting with lineups, and attempting to build around Clark's playmaking. Although Lexie Hull had been dependable, her numbers weren't particularly impressive. Coach Stephanie White was allegedly interfering with Hull's minutes by testing younger guards. Additionally, rumors increase in professional basketball when minutes decline. Hull's the kind of player every contender wants, an assistant from a different team allegedly remarked, strong, astute, and drama-free. However, the Fever appeared prepared to go away. Quietly, trade negotiations started. Draft compensation was one scenario that was suggested. An experienced wing was involved in another. Before anything or
something in your game day routine, or do you feel like you're just in a groove right now?
She's in a groove. She started hanging out with me more.
It's rubbing off on me.
Some are good, some are bad.
Together, her brand deals are worth more than some WNBA team's whole squad budget. She has sponsorship advisors organizing her image down to the slightest detail, from press quotes to Instagram captions, PR teams keeping an eye on social media storylines, and consultants checking engagement statistics. Therefore, when someone in that circle learned that Lexie Hull may be going, they perceived it as more than just a basketball transaction. They perceived a PR hazard. Hull is more than a teammate. She is among the few athletes who have the same public persona as Clark. Tidy, modest, and approachable. They frequently show up together in team commercials and community videos. Online fan edits refer to them as Indiana's golden duo.
I think, there's always room to improve, but I was impressed, so I'd give it a 9. But we were just hanging out, and she was like, I did this the other day, like randomly, and then she turned on the game. I was like, okay. Turned on the game, and she just started going at it, so it was funny.
That type of organic chemistry is extremely valuable to Clark's marketing network. That is not something you give up for a bench shooter. Thus, her management reportedly expressed their concerns in a courteous but forceful manner. The exchange abruptly came to an end. It was power used discreetly and effectively, as well as loyalty in action. This is where the actual tension began to build. The owner of the Fever, Steve Simon, had approved the investigation of roster changes. Clark's success was crucial to his bottom line since he is a businessman first and foremost. Stephanie White, the head coach, was apparently irritated. She desired the ability to customize rotations, without politics. To her, this was just a minor adjustment to balance, not a betrayal. However, they soon discovered they were trapped in a new dynamic. According to a league insider, basketball logic suddenly takes a backseat when you have a player who boosts revenue by 50%.
Can I get this spring fling with vanilla cream instead of coconut cream. Can I have the beach babe too, please?
Simon was not going to take any chances that could cause discomfort for Clark. White's hands were tied, but she wasn't overjoyed. After the rumor spread, employees reported feeling a discernible chill behind closed doors. You could truly sense it when the trust between the coaching staff and high management began to erode. Officially, the focus has moved from team first to brand first. Reactions within the locker room were emotional and varied. It was viewed as a potent demonstration of loyalty by athletes who were close to Clark. She defended her friend. She protected a loved one by using her power. That has some significance. Others, however, found it difficult to swallow. Off camera, one veteran allegedly said to a local reporter, "Look, I respect Caitlin. She's a star, but if when some individuals are untouchable, it completely alters how a team functions."
It's helped our defense improve a lot. So I think offensively and defensively, we've taken a step forward, and that's kind of what the coaches challenged us in going into that break too.
I love Lexie, but we can't pretend there isn't a double standard anymore, someone else added quietly. No one made any public remarks. There was anxiety, but nobody wanted to start a media frenzy. The irony is that, although Clark likely intended it to be a friendly gesture, it was perceived as a show of dominance. Even though she had the best of intentions, the cracks began to appear in her view. Nevertheless, even her detractors acknowledged that Caitlin had altered the WNBA's overall vibe. Nobody had ever witnessed a rookie exercise such control, not even veterans. Let's now discuss Lexie Hull, the serene hub of the storm. Through all the noise, she said nothing. No likes on dubious postings, no strange Instagram stories, and no tense-sounding comments. She simply worked more repetitions, early workouts, and unceasing vigor. After that, something intriguing took place. Her minutes began to increase once more. Her impact on defense increased. In interviews, Clark started emphasizing her, describing her as vital and underappreciated. Fans noticed.
How impressive of a job did Stephanie do as coach with all the moving parts throughout the season?
I mean, incredible. Simply incredible. Be so easy to give up and say we're just gonna take this year. We're gonna be a building.
On Fever fan pages, the hashtag #KeepLexie began to trend. Even features about her chemistry with Clark were broadcast by local broadcasters. It was the kind of narrative shift that doesn't happen by accident, subtle PR sorcery. And the outcome was the same whether it was sincere appreciation or calculated image management. Hull transformed from a trade bait to an essential teammate. Even analysts were acknowledging it by the following month. When Lexie was on the ground, the fever was more intense. Is it a coincidence? Perhaps, but fans were aware that something had obviously changed behind the scenes. League offices became aware of the alleged trade intervention. Parity is the driving force behind the WNBA's expansion. The notion that each team competes on equal footing. But what happens when a player's impact surpasses the internal organization of the league? According to a league executive, it's not a bad problem to have, but it's a new one because if Clark's team could block a move once, what stops them from influencing coaching decisions, media policies, or future signings? Some insiders even conjectured that this could lead to a long-term shift, a kind of era of player empowerment, similar to what the NBA experienced when players began influencing teams from within. The difference is that it's happening more quickly here. The WNBA's infrastructure was never designed to accommodate Clark's growing reputation. Handle. Every appearance sells out arenas. Every item bearing her name becomes viral. People listen to her or her team when they talk, even if it's quietly, which is both potent and risky. More than most fans understood, the fallout from this incident altered Indiana. Executives began to walk more cautiously behind the scenes. There was now an implicit question in every roster debate. What effect will this have on Caitlin's team? Everyone senses it even though nobody expresses it verbally. Public releases are double-checked by marketing teams. Clark's PR advisors work with social media teams to plan captions. To guarantee brand alignment, sponsor announcements are supposedly subject to an approval cycle. It's complete but subtle, and the outcome is what some refer to as intimidation and others as efficiency. Because when a single player, regardless of skill level, becomes the brand itself, it's almost nobody in her immediate vicinity could keep business and basketball apart. In interviews, even Steve Simon's tone changed. He used to discuss creating a competitive team. These days, it's safeguarding the direction and culture that Caitlin is developing. She has that much influence, and it won't go away very soon. What exactly was this about, then? Was it leverage or loyalty? Perhaps both. In actuality, Caitlin Clark has always exhibited intense loyalty. She has taken her circle with her from Iowa to Indiana. Supporters, coaches, friends, and teammates. She cherishes chemistry. She values trust. So, on the surface, this appears to be a friend defending another friend. However, loyalty turns into leverage when that connection coincides with multimillion-dollar brand influence. Lexie Hull may not have realized it, but as soon as Clark's circle intervened, her worth surged. The Fever also took away a lesson they will never forget. A relocation won't take place if it doesn't match the Caitlin Clark story. That isn't conceit. Power is that. Earned power acquired via success, riches, and fame. If handled improperly, this kind of influence has the power to either strengthen or destroy a franchise. The WNBA is rapidly evolving. Teams dominated players for decades. The biggest performers are now beginning to change the course of events. The relationship between Caitlin Clark and Lexie Hull is the first clear example of that change. A superstar who controls not only her team's performance but also who stays and who leaves. The absurd thing is that it isn't happening through dramatic comments or public demands. Behind the scenes brand negotiations, meetings, and phone conversations are all discreetly taking place. Soft power is the modern game. Caitlin Clark is learning it more quickly than anyone before her, regardless of whether fans like it or not. The front desk staff at Fever is aware of this, her teammates are aware of it, and now the league as a whole is as well. Ultimately, this narrative is about more than just Lexie Hull remaining in her current position. It has to do with what her staying stands for: control, influence, and allegiance. Three items that rarely coexist peacefully in professional athletics. Some claim that Caitlin protected her friend, just like any good teammate would. Others think her camp used its influence to sway the roster to her advantage. However, there is one truth that all sides concur on. Caitlin Clark's inner circle is now the first to hear about anything that occurs within Indiana's organization. That's the mark of a generational star. Was this a fair move? Perhaps not. Was that a calculated move? Of course. And it could be the reason why the Fever's locker room will look completely different both on and off the court in the upcoming season. Because everyone else must knock before entering the franchise when one player has the keys. If you believe Caitlin was saved by her loyalty, give it a 100, teammate. Or comment power move if you think that all of this was a part of a larger scheme. The message is clear in any case. Loyalty is more than simply a virtue in Indiana, it's a tool. Additionally, Caitlin Clark recently demonstrated her proficiency with it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe because, believe me, the story of Caitlin the Fever and her expanding empire is far from finished.